If you do live here in Lake County, up in Ohio, you know that the fall is one of the most beautiful times of year. And we're out here on the Lake Metroparks Greenway Trail, which extends 4.4 miles through Lake County from the north end down to the south end at Ravenna Road. And during the fall, this is one of the nicest places that you can come to check out some of the fall foliage. And if you want to come down here, many modes of transportation you can use. You can walk, you can rollerblade, but when I come out here, I like to ride my bicycle on the trail. And then you can see some of the changing fall colors as they happen here in Lake County. Now, if you haven't been on the Greenway Trail before, up to this point, it's been open for about 3 years. It's 4.4 miles long, it's all paved, and a lot of it is real rural like this. A lot of chances to get in touch with nature. You see deer, you see squirrels, wildlife. But here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be opening up another extension on the south end that goes another half mile towards Geauga County, where it links up with the Geauga County Greenway Trail, which goes south all the way to Chardon and even past that. The Rails to Trails movement throughout America has converted thousands of miles of former railroads into trails like this so that they're more multi-use and a lot of users year-round. In some places like Ashtabula County, the Greenway trails in the wintertime are converted to snowmobile trails. But depending on where you are, they're a great way to get out and experience nature. And I wanted to take a little bit and talk about some of the safety features on the bicycle, which you should be concerned about when you are riding on a Greenway trail or riding anywhere else for that matter, and talk about some of the things that might happen to you while you're on your bicycle, like flat tires and your chain coming off, that you can easily repair yourself so you have a more enjoyable bicycle ride here at the Metroparks. When you go out riding, 3 things you want to check on your bicycle, and it's easy to remember as ABC. A stands for air. You want to make sure that you have enough air in your tires. If you don't have enough air in your tires, then it's going to make your ride a lot more difficult. B would be brakes, both front and back brakes. Easiest thing to do is just make sure that the brakes work. They both work. And then after that, you want to actually look on the inside of the brake pad and make sure that it's not too worn down, because if it does start getting too worn down in the middle of your ride, you could start to feel your brakes starting to fail a little bit. And C would be cables. Most of the cables run on the top of the bicycle, and these go back to the gear shifters and go back to the brakes, and you want to make sure that they have a lot of tension on them, almost like a guitar cord. Okay, this one right here, this one is starting to get a little bit loose, which means I'm going to have to tighten that up a little bit later on. So make sure that you check those out before you go out riding. Now, one of the other things that might happen while you're out on your bicycle is you might get a flat tire. Now, you have 2 options. You can either replace the whole tube, or you can use a patch kit, find the hole in the tube, and put a small, it's almost like a Band-Aid for your tube, and then put it back on your tire. Now, if all you have is a patch repair kit, that's fine and good. But I never ride for more than a couple miles with a patch in my bike. I always like to get a new tire on there if at all possible. Sometimes if you have a real bad ride and you go through a couple of tubes, you may be forced to use your patch kit. But whenever possible, use a new tube, which is why I carry a couple extras. Now, we're going to demonstrate how to change your front tire. Now, if you are going to repair a flat tire, you do have to take the tire off the bike. Now, before you do that, what you have to do first is you have to disconnect the brake cable from the tire so the tire will more easily slide out. Now, right here at the front of the front tire where the brakes are, there's a little rubber cover which covers the mechanical parts on the brake. What you have to do is remove that cover. You have to pinch the brake together. It pulls out of its harness, release, and now your front brake is disconnected. The next thing you have to do is you have to release the mechanism which holds the tire inside the fork. And most tires these days are connected by quick release levers, which means you don't need any tools to take it off. Most of them have a bar on the left side which pulls forward, releases some of the tension, and then all you simply have to do is unscrew it. And remember, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So you unscrew it enough. Usually about 6 to 8 rotations is enough to release enough tension, and then all you do is you take the bike and pull it and bring the tire away. If you get a flat tire, you're definitely going to know it because you're not going to have any sort of air in the tire. Sometimes you get a tube that'll have a small hole in it, and it'll be a real small leak, and it'll take a while, but sometimes it'll go flat almost immediately if the tire explodes. If this does happen, once the tire is off, you have to take one of your tire levers and you have to get the tire off the bike frame. And what you do is you take the sharper end, you put it underneath the tire, you pull up, and then you can take the other end, and it has a part that hooks around a spoke, and that creates a little opening. Then you can take the next one, and now the one side is completely off, and you take the tube, and you pull it out, and take that out. And then before you put a new tube inside the tire, you want to look inside and you just want to make sure that there's no debris. This has a little bit. Okay. Then you take and you find the hole in the tire. You want to put that closer to the bottom. Take your replacement tube, and before you put your new tube inside the tire, you want to fill it up with just a little bit of air so it takes the shape of the tire. And you're going to take the valve and you're going to put that in first. That's a good starting location. And after you put it on, most of them come with a little screw, and you screw it into place, and that will help keep it from slipping. Then you work the tube into the tire, and then usually you can start working the tube back into the frame with your fingers. And then the last little section, that's when you start using the levers again. Get a smaller lever. See if we can finish it up. Okay. And now the tube and tire are completely back on the bike. So we're going to go back and we're going to completely inflate the tire. And if you don't have a gauge to determine how much air is in the tire, usually you can kind of feel when you have enough air in it. And that just comes from experience. I think that'll do for today. You put your cap back on your tire, and the tire is now ready to put back on the bicycle. First, you want to make sure that your quick release valve is on the left side. Slide it right over the frame. And you can stand over the frame, hold the bicycle still, and you want to use the right side of the bike. It's righty-tighty. And you want to give it enough tension so that when you use the quick release valve, you can feel the tension really build up with it. Lift up the front of the frame, spin the tire, make sure it's spinning straight. Now we're going to reattach the front brake cable. Squeeze the brakes with your hands. Put it back on. Rubber gasket assembly. And we're just going to make sure front brakes do work. They hold the weight of the bike. And your bike is up and ready to go again. As you can see, it does take a couple of tries to get it right. This is something that you may want to practice at home so you can do with some proficiency when you're out on the trail or out on the road. But once you're able to do that, then you can have a lot of years of good bicycle riding.